Christmas night was glowing. Candles, gold lights, perfect smiles. And then my grandpa lifted his glass and said the sentence that exposed everything. "Angie, do you like the house I bought you?" My mom's hand slipped. My dad turned white. And right there, right in front of the entire Brooks family, I realized the truth I'd been chasing for weeks. They stole the house meant for me. They lied to my grandpa. They lied to me. But what they didn't know was that I had walked into that dinner with proof and a plan that would crack this family open from the inside. This Christmas wasn't about gifts. It was about revenge. Before we start, please subscribe. It means so much and helps me bring you more stories like this. My name is Angelina Brooks, and before that Christmas night, before the glass shattered and the truth flooded the table, my life was small, quiet, and wrapped in the kind of loneliness you only feel when your own family pretends you don't exist. I lived in a tiny Portland apartment, the kind where the heater rattles louder than your thoughts, where the kitchen is basically 3 steps and a prayer, and where every month I prayed my paycheck wouldn't arrive a day too late. But it was mine, or at least the only thing in my life I paid for on my own. Meanwhile, my parents were somewhere between ski lodges and luxury wine tastings, posting photos with captions like, "Family is everything, Red Heart." Yeah, family. Funny word when you're the one left out of the frame. Mom loved sending messages that started sweet but ended sharp. "Honey, adulthood is about responsibility. Maybe try budgeting better." I never replied. Silence kept the peace, or at least stopped the arguments I'd never win. But Grandpa Edward Brooks was different, strong, quiet, sharp-minded, the kind of man whose presence filled rooms that my parents only pretended to belong in. When I graduated college, he hugged me tight and said, "One day, I'll make sure you have a place of your own." I thought he meant wisdom, not a house. A house? That was a dream too big for someone like me. But one week before Christmas he called. His voice was warm, excited in a way I hadn't heard in years. "Angelina, this year, I have something special for you." I laughed softly. "Grandpa, you don't have to get me anything." He chuckled low, proud, certain. "Too late. It's already taken care of." I didn't think about it. Not really. Not until later that night when I was scrolling through my parents' photos from their dinner party in Napa. Red wine, designer outfits, perfect smiles, perfect lies. I felt something twist inside me, jealousy maybe, but mostly confusion. Why did it feel like I was the only person in this family earning my life the hard way? I told Clara, my best friend, about Grandpa's mysterious gift. We were at our usual cafe, pretending to work while drowning in caffeine we couldn't afford. She smirked. "Maybe he's giving you what your parents never did, stability." I tried to smile, but it felt thin outside. Christmas lights blinked against the rain. Inside, my coffee had gone cold. I didn't know it yet. But Grandpa's special gift wasn't wrapped under a tree. It wasn't waiting with a bow. It was waiting to pull apart every lie my parents had built. And the unraveling started 3 days later, with an email that shouldn't have existed, a subject line that made my heart stop. "Congratulations on the successful sale of the Pacific Lane property." Pacific Lane. The street Grandpa once said would fit my sunlight. My fingers froze on the trackpad. I opened it. Read it. Reread it. Sold. Sold to who? Sold by who? My stomach dropped. I called Mom, forcing my voice to stay light. "Hey, random question. Did Grandpa ever buy a house on Pacific Lane?" There was a pause. A long one. Too long. Then she exhaled a shaky laugh. "Oh, that? No, sweetheart. Nothing happened with that. The market crashed." Forget it. Forget it. Forget what? Because in that moment she sounded scared. And fear meant she was hiding something. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every creak in my apartment felt like a whisper saying, "They lied." The next morning, my coffee untouched, my heart racing, I whispered, "Something is very, very wrong." And that's when I made the decision that would change everything. I was going to Christmas dinner. But not to eat. To expose the truth. The morning after that strange email, I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at my laptop, replaying every word Mom had said. Forget it. She said it too quickly, too nervously. Like someone trying to bury a truth that was already floating to the surface. I opened the email again. This time I clicked the attachment. My breath caught at a scanned contract.
À signature.
My grandfather's signature. The buyer's signature. And the sellers listed as my parents'. My hands trembled so hard the trackpad almost slipped from my fingers. No, this can't be real. But it was. The ink was clear. The dates aligned. The property, the same property Grandpa once excitedly mentioned, had been sold by my parents, opened under their bank account. Not mine. I zoomed in again, scanning every detail, and that's when the final blow landed. The buyer had paid cash. A huge amount. Nearly everything Grandpa had spent the last decade saving. And none of it. Not a single cent was in my name. I felt the kind of anger that makes your vision blur. Not loud anger. Not screaming anger. No, the quiet kind. The kind that sinks into your bones and starts whispering. They stole your future. I needed answers, so that evening I drove to Grandpa's old lawyer's office. A small brick building with peeling holiday stickers on the windows. Inside, the air smelled like old coffee and dust. The lawyer, Mr. Hanley, was surprised to see me. Angelina? It's been years. Everything okay? I forced a shaky smile. I got an email about a property. Pacific Lane. I just need to understand what happened. His face changed. Subtle but heavy. He motioned me to sit. He opened a drawer, pulled out a folder, and placed it gently in front of me. Your grandfather trusted me. That's why I kept copies. Just in case. My heartbeat thundered as I opened it. Inside were the original documents. Property transfer intentions. The will draft. And then I saw it. The page that made everything inside me collapse. Grandpa had written that the house was for me. Specifically. Only me. A gift to help me start my life. I whispered, barely breathing. He meant for me to have it. Hanley nodded slowly. Your parents insisted they were handling the transfer. They pressured him, said you weren't financially stable enough to manage a home. They convinced him they'd hold it until you were ready. My throat tightened. That's a lie. He would never. Hanley looked down. He regretted trusting them. He told me that. Right before his health declined. My chest burned. All the memories of Grandpa. His warmth, his pride, his quiet belief in me. And they took advantage of that trust. I shut the folder slowly, my hands pale and shaking. Mr. Hanley, does Grandpa know about the sale? He hesitated. Angelina, I don't think he knows the whole truth. He's been told something, yes, but your parents controlled everything. The room felt smaller, tighter, like the walls themselves were closing. I stood. Thank you. I needed to hear this. Outside, the winter wind punched my face, cold and sharp. Holiday decorations glittered on the street, mocking me. I sat in my car, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. My own parents. My own blood. Lying. Stealing. Taking what wasn't theirs. And then pretending to be the perfect family online. My voice cracked as I whispered. They think I'm weak. They think I won't fight back. My phone buzzed, snapping me out of the rage. It was a text from Mom. Christmas dinner at 7. Wear something nice. No, love you. No, can't wait to see you. Just a command. A fake family. A fake celebration. A fake peace. I wiped my eyes. Inhaled and said out loud. They want me there? Fine. I'll go. But this time, I'm not going to be their quiet daughter. I printed every document, packed them neatly in a folder, slid it into my bag. Then I stood in the mirror, looked at my shaking reflection, and whispered the promise that would change everything. On Christmas night, I exposed them. And nothing, not blood, not fear, not guilt, was going to stop me. Christmas Day arrived slower than ever, like time itself didn't want me walking into that house. That I woke up before sunrise. Not because I was excited, but because I couldn't breathe. My chest felt tight. My thoughts were loud. And my hands were shaking so badly I spilled half the coffee before taking a sip. I looked at the folder on my table. The folder holding all the proof. All the signatures. All the lies. That it felt heavier than it looked. Like it carried the weight of every betrayal I had ever swallowed. I whispered to myself, tonight finally the truth comes out. At 6:12 p.m. I got in my car. The roads were quiet, covered in thin layers of snow that glowed under streetlights. Every Christmas song on the radio made me feel sick. I turned it off. I drove in silence, with only the sound of my heart pounding too fast. When I turned onto my parents' street, I saw it. Their house, covered in lights, perfect decorations, warm yellow windows glowing like everything inside was pure, peaceful, loving. A picture-perfect lie. Dozens of cars lined the driveway. Family, friends, neighbors, people who adored my parents, people who believed the world they created. I parked at the curb, swallowed the thick lump in my throat and said, "You're not here to smile. You're not here to be their decoration. You're here to end this." I grabbed the folder, the weapons of truth, and walked toward the door. The door opened before I reached it. Mom stood there, polished, elegant, wearing a smile sharp enough to cut skin. "Angelina, you're late." Not "Merry Christmas." Not "I missed you." Just criticism. I forced a calm smile. "Traffic." She scanned me from head to toe, judging as always. "Well, at least you dressed decently tonight." My jaw tensed behind her. I saw my dad, laughing loudly with guests, holding a wine glass like everything in his life was perfect. He didn't even notice I had arrived. The long oak table was set with red candles, gold plates, crystal glasses. Everything expensive, everything staged. Everyone greeted me kindly, warmly. Because none of them knew what my parents had done. I took my seat across from Grandpa. And the moment our eyes met, my anger melted for a second. He smiled at me, soft, genuine, proud. "Angelina, Merry Christmas, sweetheart." His voice, always so gentle, made my chest ache. He didn't know the truth yet. Dad clinked his glass. "Everyone, let's begin. Tonight is about family." I almost laughed. Family. They loved that word. Food arrived, conversations rose, laughter filled the room, and I sat quietly thinking, how many lies can they hide behind one perfect dinner? Near dessert, Grandpa lifted his glass. The room quieted instantly. He turned to me with eyes full of warmth. "Angelina, I've been wanting to ask you something." My breathing stopped. Mom stiffened. Dad's smile faltered. Their eyes darted to one another, panic flashing beneath fake calm. Grandpa continued, unaware. "Do you like the house I bought you?" The table froze. Forks stopped. Everyone stared at me. Time slowed down, like the universe paused to hear my answer. Mom whispered sharply. Dad cut in quickly. "Edward, maybe we should talk about that later." But Grandpa ignored them. He looked at me, waiting. Hopeful. Confused. And I felt something inside me break. The way he trusted them. The way he believed they had done everything right when behind his back, they had ripped his gift away from me. That I swallowed hard. Tears stung my eyes. My voice cracked as I whispered, "Grandpa, I never got a house." The entire table erupted with whispers. Grandpa's smile faded instantly. "What do you mean? I paid for it months ago." My parents jumped in almost simultaneously. Mom. She misunderstood. Dad. We explained this. Mom. The market shifted. Dad. It wasn't safe for her. Their voices piled on top of each other, lying, deflecting, panicking. Grandpa's face darkened. Enough. Both of you. His eyes locked on mine. "Angelina, tell me exactly what you know." Everyone was silent. You could hear the fire crackling in the fireplace. I took a slow breath, reached into my bag, and placed the folder on the table. Mom's face drained of all color. Dad blinked rapidly, like his world was unraveling. Every page inside that folder, every signature, every lie was about to surface. I looked at Grandpa, voice trembling but steady at the same time. I know the house was meant for me. I know you signed it. I know you trusted them. And I know they sold it behind your back and kept the money. Gasps filled the room. Grandpa's hand shook. His wine glass slipped, shattering on the table. He looked at my parents slowly, with a disappointment so deep it made the air feel heavy. Tell me she's lying, he said quietly. My parents said nothing. They were frozen, caught, exposed. And for the first time in my life, I felt power. Real power. Because the truth was finally on my side. And this was just the beginning. The room was silent. Not soft silence. Not polite silence, but the kind of silence that feels like the air is thick enough to choke you. Grandpa's shattered wine glass dripped slowly off the table edge, drop by drop, like a countdown to destruction. He stared at my parents, eyes burning, and whispered, "Tell me she's lying." Mom swallowed. Dad blinked rapidly. Both of them frozen. Then Mom forced a shaky laugh, trying to recover her facade. "Dad, this is a misunderstanding, okay? We were only trying to protect her." Grandpa slammed his hand on the table so hard the plates rattled. Protect her? By stealing from her. By lying to me. The guests stared wide-eyed, mouths open, forks suspended midair. Mom stepped toward him, desperate. "Dad, please listen." "No. You will be quiet," Grandpa commanded, voice shaking with rage. Dad finally spoke, voice low and defensive. "We didn't steal. We managed it. We handled the finances carefully. The market was unstable. I shot up from my seat." "Stop lying. The money went to your account." Grandpa turned to Dad, his eyes narrowing. "Is that true?" Dad hesitated, and that was enough. The truth was already exposed. Grandpa stood, slowly, painfully, but with a force that commanded the entire house. His voice broke as he said, "I trusted you. Both of you. And you betrayed not just her but me." Mom's mask finally cracked. "Dad, don't do this. The family is watching." Grandpa laughed bitterly. "Good. Let them watch. Maybe they'll finally see what I've been blind to for years." He pointed at them with a trembling finger. "You two are no longer welcome in my home." Gasps. Whispers. Aunt Sarah covered her mouth. Uncle Roy muttered, "My God." Dad took a step forward. "You can't be serious." Grandpa cut him off sharply. "I'm dead serious. Get out. Now." Mom's face twisted. Anger, fear, humiliation mixing all at once. "You're choosing her over your own children?" Grandpa didn't blink. "I'm choosing the only honest one in this family." Mom's voice rose high, sharp, desperate. "We built this family. You can't treat us like criminals." I stepped between them, my voice calm, too calm. "You didn't just treat me like I didn't matter. You treated Grandpa like a bank account. You used him. And you didn't even feel guilty." Dad's face contorted with anger. "You don't understand how life works. That money," Grandpa slammed the folder onto their chests. "That money was for her future. Not your vacations. Not your designer clothes. Not your fake lifestyle." My parents stood frozen, destroyed not by screams, but by truth. Grandpa placed a gentle hand on my shoulder. "Angelina, sweetheart, come with me." We stepped into his study, a quiet room filled with books, warm lighting, and the faint smell of pine wood. He closed the door softly behind us. Then he exhaled. A long, painful exhale, like years of disappointment were leaving his body. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I'm so sorry I didn't see what they were doing. I should have protected you better." I shook my head, tears burning at the corners of my eyes. "Grandpa, you always protected me. They're the ones who broke everything." He sat at his desk, opened the bottom drawer, and pulled out a small metal box. Inside were legal papers, envelopes, a sealed folder. He pushed them toward me. Everything I own, every asset, every account, every property, it's all going to you now. My eyes widened. Grandpa, I can't. He raised a hand. You're not taking anything. You're receiving what should have always been yours. His voice grew stern. And as for your parents, I'm pressing charges. My heart skipped. Charges? He nodded. They forged intentions, manipulated documents, and stole funds. This isn't a family issue. This is a crime. A deep silence settled, a heavy, powerful silence that I whispered. Do you want revenge? He shook his head. No, but I want justice. And I want peace before I leave this world.
I'm tired. Angelina.
Too tired to let lies win. I reached for his hand, squeezing it gently. You're not alone anymore. We walked back into the dining room. My parents were near the door. Mom crying, Dad furious, while guests stood silently, watching the family crumble. Grandpa faced them one last time. You will leave now. I'll have my lawyer contact you in the morning. Dad stepped forward, rage boiling. You think she deserves everything? She's done nothing. Grandpa's voice was low, deadly calm. She deserves honesty. Something you clearly know nothing about. Mom sobbed, grabbing Dad's arm. Let's go. Edward has lost his mind. No, Grandpa said. I've finally regained it. They left. No goodbye. No epaleyi. Just the sound of the front door slamming hard enough to shake the walls. That I stayed the night at Grandpa's house. Not because I needed shelter, but because he did that. He knocked on my door early, holding 2 mugs of hot cocoa. His holiday tradition. We sat in silence at the kitchen table. Finally, he said quietly, Angelina, thank you for being brave. I looked at him. Thank you for believing me. He smiled softly, tired but relieved. It's time to rebuild. You and me. A real family. One based on trust, not lies. I nodded, tears finally spilling. I'd like that. As the sun rose, lighting the snow outside, I whispered the truth I had waited my whole life to say. Sometimes, family isn't the people who share your blood. It's the people who choose truth, even when it hurts. And for the first time in years, I felt safe. I felt seen. I felt home.